All of us were on the call today. Very disappointed. We were all in the queue trying to answer questions, and until we run out of questions, they hadn't. Every one of us had questions that we wanted to ask. We felt we didn't get any of the responses that were necessary from you. Very disappointed in your leadership. I have called for your resignation, and I'd rather you resign tonight or start answering our questions right now about the death threat to President Trump and allowing him to go on stage in Pennsylvania at a time when he'd already been alerted that there was somebody with a spotter, all these situations already identified an hour before, and you let him go on stage without the knowledge of him, the team on the ground, and you will sit here within less than an inch of his life. So resignation or full explanation to us right now.
We have time to get our questions in, and he never was running the phone. It would not have been the director who was nearly killed. You leave an hour out, you have a suspicious person, and at 5:51, according to the timeline of your deputy, you've identified a potential threat. And then at 5:52, you told, or someone told, that the sniper didn't understand it. Can you give us an explanation? Why would anyone allow the president to go on stage when you know you've got a potential threat and you've got snipers that are trained on it? Why? I don't think that it's just a threat at all.
Wait, you hung up on it. We're here. You set out the meeting first. Well, we can find a place to go right now.
All right, this is
we'll leave with you then. No, we're going with you. We're going with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Afghanistan
Go ahead, son. No shame, no concern. I'm not telling you guys. Answer to us. Answer to us. This is exactly what we were doing today.
This was an assassination attempt. You owe
nothing.
You owe President Trump answers.
Go. To the people of the United States, to the head of the Secret Service.
You owe answers.
You owe answers to the Senate, to the House, to the President, the past President, and you owe answers to the President. The President should have this for the protection, for crying out loud.
The aftermath of the incident that happened in Pennsylvania with former President Donald J. Trump is getting uglier, it's getting crazier, and it's getting more and more concerning. By every single moment, it's getting more concerning beyond asking people to resign or anything. But hold up, we need to know what's going on because this looks more like some type of intent. Here's the latest news on it. Let me go ahead and share this with you. Colin Rugg's doing an amazing job curating the information, what's important, what's not. He's a Trump supporter, but fairly neutral in his reporting. It says 2 police officers phoned in to a blanket tactical channel, meaning we're all linked into a channel for tactical reasons. So if I see something and I go into the tactical channel, everybody hears it. Local, Secret Service, and let's go ahead and play this clip here. There's this battle going on between the local officers and then the Secret Service. And ultimately, the responsibility goes on one person. I'm going to play this video in a second. Don't go anywhere. It's Joe Biden is the responsibility. Secret Service reports through DHS. That's Alejandro Mayorkas. Then you have Joe Biden. Under that, then you go to whoever the Secret Service was working with, but that's not who should ultimately be in charge. So it's interesting that they're throwing the local authorities under the bus. Not only that, even if the local authorities were wrong, it's still your responsibility. If the job is mine and I'm the boss and my person messes up, ultimately it's my responsibility. But they're throwing the local authorities under the bus, and it doesn't even seem like accurate information. Stay till the end of this. I'm not going to care any more about this assassination attempt and all the questions around it until something happens.
All law enforcement were notified of a suspicious person somewhere on the grounds. Once the suspicious individual was identified as being in the vicinity of the AGR building, our police, who were primarily assigned to traffic duty and traffic control, did in fact, because of proximity, move towards that building to assist in trying to find and identify, the suspicious person. It's a light manufacturing office building. I'm not aware of a very specific assignment, not being part of the planning meetings, to whether or not anybody was truly assigned, dedicated to not only the building, but that immediate grounds. I don't have that answer. One of our police officer here with our department, once that report came out and our police arrived, in the immediate area of the building, they did do a perimeter search. We're unable to see the person on top of the building from their vantage point. So one of our other police officers, 2 total, literally boosted one of our police officers up high enough in the air to grab hold of the edge of the roof. Approximate height of 12 feet from ground to where he was able to grab a handhold. Officer pulled himself up to where his head was above the roof. Did observe an individual on the roof. Individual was identified as having a weapon and did point that firearm at our officer. That time, our officer took up a defensive position from hanging from a ledge, ducked his head, did in fact lose his grip, fell approximately 8 feet, did sustain an injury to his ankle. While prone on the ground, both the lifting officer and the prone officer both called in, identifying the individual on the roof as being armed. We did not man the actual entrance gates. I've heard the same story, but I don't have any other information than what's being broadcast right now. I can tell you, if there is none of that spilled over into this building and none of it's been directed, to our officers, there has, to the best of my knowledge, not been any direct communication with members of Secret Service to our officials. There are ongoing interviews with all law enforcement that were at the event, regardless of what their roles were. So we're all just waiting on that information to be all put together into one public report. I think there's some misconception about overall response. I can only speak for our officers transitioning from what was supposed to be a primary traffic control assistance to where it became a person of suspicion or a suspicious person. I mean, I think our law enforcement did exactly what training taught them to do, and they did their job. How subsequent events played out, that's another thing for what I hope to be a really complete report on the incident to educate everybody. A gap in time with unknowns, that leads to all the angry emails and calls that, township elected officials, myself, and especially the police are receiving. Again, hopefully the report is as timely as possible and given in a way that the public can clearly follow the timelines and how different components happened, and everybody not just learns from it, but just not living in fear, but just living, get away from it. I think I'd welcome any kind of a review that gets benefit from the outcome. Unfortunate tragedy. Certainly hope that whatever is out there to be learned from it gets learned, and we apply that to everything going forward. So I have not been asked any questions. Again, I was more of an administrative support and offered to help with logistics, but I wasn't in any of the actual planning meetings. I wasn't in any of the formulation of an operations report that was, given to our officers, which we generated internally. So I have not been asked any questions. As far as, the overall interviews that I'm aware of that are taking place that the FBI are spearheading, I think they're all fact-finding from everybody that was involved. My understanding is they're going to take place this week. What the duration is, I don't know. Yeah, so I think the overall operation plan that the Butler Township Police developed for their role in the traffic control, well laid out, well planned, intercommunicated with other agencies, that were tasked with the event as a whole. I thought that their response to going from traffic control and/or potentially patrol into a potential active shooter kind of a response spoke well to their training, spoke well to them doing their job. They responded as timely as they were notified and took probably an unorthodox method of trying to identify anybody on the roof because there wasn't access to it. It is unfortunate that one officer did get hurt, but I'd like to think that their timely identification hopefully helped minimize as best as possible the overall situation. I can honestly say here right now, I have not seen any type of email and or call-in correspondence that was direct threatening. However, the harshness of criticism from both sides of the spectrum been pretty brutal and relentless. It's been going on for roughly 2 days now. Again, I think when the entirety of the investigation is done and we have the full, complete story of how this whole event unfolded, hopefully those that are as quick to send a hate email can send back an apology just as quickly.
We know there's no apologies coming from anybody at any time, but that's the breaking news. The police say that they communicated right away. Just to give you the summary of what we said there, then I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to care anymore, why I refuse to care anymore. Let me break it down again. The big question out of this, Colin Rugg put this in there. He said, why didn't Secret Service rush to protect Trump in this moment? Tim Pool's been talking about it, everybody. I mean, that's the number one question. It was said on the tactical channel well before shots rang out that there's something going on. As a precaution, and this happened to Trump before, I think. They kind of covered him up or something. Remember, it was years ago, I believe, at a rally. And they cover him up, and then they get him out of there and just say, hey, I'm sorry, everybody, afterwards. Like, we just had to make sure there was something going on. That's what you would expect. So the officer climbed up on the top of the roof, kind of pulled himself up, peeked over. Allegedly, Crooks with the weapon. Crooks pointed the weapon at the officer. The officer, understandably, is in a very vulnerable position, freaked out, didn't expect to see that, fell, hurt his ankle. Then he said both of them, I believe, tactical, man on roof, or whatever they say at that time. So were the local police perfect? I don't know. But this is like a corporate battle. Well, it's not my fault. This is like corporate politics. Oh, you were supposed to do it. No, I was supposed to do it. No, we communicated onto everyone. Oh, you were supposed to use this call or that. That's where we're getting into now, and that's too micro level. I need to go above that. I'm going to tell you why I will not care about this anymore. Donald Trump is scheduled to speak, and the reports are that the speech is going to be a speech of unity. Peter Navarro just got out about half an hour before I recorded this, I believe. Peter Navarro got out of prison. He served his full term, did not get commuted or anything. And he's talking about unity. It's because there's a message that's been told to everybody. We want a unity party, national convention. And I don't understand it. Do you want unity? Pandemic hits. Life or death situation. What happens? Fauci and others set Trump up. 2020, stolen. Against Trump, against MAGA. 2022, FTX scandal. Funnels money through Ukraine back through a crypto scam. I guess MAGA likes crypto scams now with Amber Rose. Crypto scam back. They steal the midterm elections using some of the money to do the wrap-up smear, prop up the MAGA candidates during the primary, then oust them because they knew they were going to outspend them by a ton, oust them in the midterm election, and then blame MAGA for it after they stole money through FTX. Why don't people tie those things together? It's been proven. Talked about it on the channel. Ben broke that down, deep dive. All that. That's 2020, 2022, 2024. Trump arraigned 4 times. Navarro, Bannon in prison. tons of other cover-ups. Michigan 16 elector scandal. They're going after them for what? J6ers, all that they're still hunting now. J6ers like dogs right now, 3 years later. So now we look to 2024 and now a bullet's involved. I don't have time to give you every single little thing that's happened. Those are the major things. And you want unity with who? For what? There is no one who isn't already questioning this involved that I want to unify with. And that's not even, the message is peace. I want peace. But the rhetoric doesn't need to be dialed down. The rhetoric needs to be dialed up. Governors need to get involved. Congress is a joke. There's no pressure on them, so they do this stuff to make it look like they're doing something. Speaker Johnson wanted Kimberly Cheatle, I believe her name is, the head of the Secret Service, who was allegedly, per an article I read, chosen by Jill Biden's office, believe it or not. They wanted her to step down because of this incompetence, but Congress just does stuff like that to make it look like they're doing something. Why isn't this a union-ending moment? Why isn't Donald Trump saying, what is the union here for? Unity? We actually need to divide to be peaceful. And even forget all that. I can't care about this more than Donald Trump. So he might still be startled. I'm not trying to knock you listening. I'm not trying to knock Trump. Just let me know when Trump starts to care about the bullet grazing his ear.
Middle MAGA.